Conversations with Azu Ishekwene.
Even though I lived and schooled in Kano for many years, I am still fascinated by the description of the city as Tumbingiwa, which literally translates to the stomach of an elephant. It's a befitting metaphor, not just for the size of the state, but the sheer volume of melodramatic politics, business, crime, shege, banza, and everything in between. Talking about melodrama, Kano's sophisticated politics defies gravity and often shuns the mainstream. It has sometimes humbled the very best in the art at their own game. The legendary Malam Aminu Kano, Muhammad Abubakar Rimi, and today Rabiu Kwankwaso, founder of the Kwankwasia movement, had tasted the sweet and bitter pills that in Kano, the political tempo on the street may be different from what happens at the party secretariat. Today we examine the recent defection of Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, who has dumped the New Nigerian People's Party and moved to the mainstream All Progressives Congress. Welcome to Conversation with Azu, our weekly diary on life and politics. Our column is titled Yusuf's Red Cap on Tinubu's Red Carpet. If time permits us, we might also take a quick look at the reaction still coming in on our last article titled We Owe Putin an Unreserved Apology. My guest, as always, is the most syndicated columnist, author, and journalist par excellence, Azu Ishekwene. Hello, Azu.
Thanks for having me again, Julius. A pleasure to be here.
All right. So, which of them surprised you? Is it Kano or the governor or both of them?
Well, first let me dial back to the very fascinating description of Kano as the stomach of an elephant. I didn't quite know that. Perhaps I would have accommodated it in my analogy or description of ongoing events in that place. But maybe that also speaks to the unfolding melodrama, to use your phrase once again, that we're witnessing in Kano. I think everything about what has happened, I would not describe what has happened as a surprise so far. We've seen this coming for quite a while. I'm talking, of course, about the defection of
Abba Kabir Yusuf
to the ADC from the NNPP. We've seen it coming for a while, as I said in my column. There had been speculations and dallying, but I think first it began with a move to get to woo the leader of the NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, to the APC. That was how it all started, and obviously that didn't go as most people thought it would. And then the pool then moved from him to his protege, who has finally now defected. So we've had this coming for quite a while. Not really a big surprise when it finally happened.
And Kwankwaso is not just the leader of the NNPP in Kano, he's also Abba Kabir Yusuf's father-in-law. Some people think...
In-law?
Yes.
Is in-law, actually.
Father-in-law, yes. Some people think there was a bit of arm twisting from Abuja. Does that sound familiar, or could that have been the case?
I do not know. I mean, people who... I'm not suggesting in the least that politicians will not face all kinds of pressure to make certain decisions. But people who think that all politicians are puppets, and that somebody sits somewhere and just pulls all the strings, sort of underestimate the agency that we have as human beings. I mean, I don't think that, all things considered, that Governor Yusuf did not weigh his options carefully and was not convinced that a move to APC would be first in his own best interest and then hopefully in the interest of his followers. So anybody who thinks that once Abuja calls once, politicians all over the country will answer twice, I do not credit. I don't credit those in Abuja with that kind of superhuman agency. whatever pressure they may have or they may exert on politicians to go one way or the other. I believe that the decision was taken by Governor Yusuf with full knowledge of the consequences and all the costs and benefits weighed carefully before he took the decision.
All right. Kwankwaso is very bitter and has
Obviously.
declared Abba's decamping, declared the day Abba decamped as the day of betrayal.
Yes, the world day of betrayal.
Yes. And then this between father-in-law and son-in-law, this runs deep. Could this probably end up as another family affair? Maybe sometime soon.
Well, you never know. With politicians, sometimes the more you look, the less you see. And I think I suggested somewhere in my column that who knows how all of this may end up at the end of the day, whether it may also end up with Kwankwaso himself also joining the APC. We cannot completely rule out what politicians will do, although it seems as things are for the moment that does not look like
possibility,
an option for him as of this moment, because that's the only thing that we can talk about. But obviously, he was, as I said earlier on, he was the first. It was the first that the party tried to woo. We know on a number of occasions where he even had to travel out of the country to meet the president abroad to discuss some of the options, and then came back to say no, he was still going to remain in his party. So nothing much surprises me with politicians these days. Nothing much, to be honest.
All right, let me read you a bit of why Kano politics is very interesting and intriguing. And I'll quote Azu for you. Take a listen. Kano often defies gravity. Its politics is sophisticated, dangerously contrarian, yet consequential. That explains why Aminu Kano's NEPU, Northern Elements Progressive Union, defeated the pro-establishment NPC, that's the Northern People's Congress, and why PRP, the People's Redemption Party, consistently beat NPN, National Party of Nigeria. In 2003, Ibrahim Shekarau's ANPP defeated Kwankwaso's nationally dominant PDP, only to bet a red cab movement that is fanatical even without a cause. 8 years later, now with the possible realignment of Yusuf, Ganduje, and Shekarau, on one side against Kwankwaso, on the other side, the die is cast. End of quote. I'm sorry I didn't read this extract very well. It didn't flow the way it ought to. So you have to check it out yourself. So with former governors like I just quoted, Shekarau and Ganduje, on Abba's side, could this be described as a consensus of the elite against one of their own?
Well, also in the article, I likened what is playing out in Kano, to an episode in ancient Rome between Julius Caesar and Pompey, who, of course, Julius Caesar was up to a point Pompey's benefactor. Pompey was probably the most influential and powerful general in all of Europe at that time. And then they sent Julius Caesar on an expedition, and he succeeded. But he was becoming powerful and so influential, and then he was warned not to cross the Rubicon, and he did. At the time when the Senate was on recess, and it was Pompey's winter, it was at his weakest, and that was when Julius Caesar struck, and Pompey fled, and of course Caesar took over and became the most powerful person in Rome at that time. So, to come back to your question about
yes, is this a consensus of the elite?
About whether it's a consensus of the elite, it's hard to know what the elite consensus is at any time, or whether the elite also understands that they need to reach a consensus to move. I think it's the consensus of the the actors involved at this time. Is a consensus of convenience. All right. That is how I would describe it, because these were strange bedfellows at the time. All of these people we are describing, they were on different sides of the fence, and then suddenly, at the moment of convenience, they have all sort of united. It's not over. You never quite know whether they all end up on the same bed again, or whether there might be seizures along the line that will lead to more fractures. But we'll wait to see. Kwankwaso has promised a fight to the finish. But we'll wait to see how that plays out, because the two options that I see clearly in terms of Kwankwaso is built a profile that is larger in a way. Kano is his base, but he's successfully built a profile that is larger than Kano. So there have also been speculations that he might be eyeing ADC, but all politics ultimately is local. Even if he was going to any other platform outside that he wants to be sure that he has a secure base, because it's on that he will leverage, that he will negotiate anything else that he wants outside. I think the fight that we are saying for now is largely inside Kano, and until that is resolved, I do not see a great pathway for him outside.
All right, away from Kano, let us take the fastest train to Ukraine. Sorry, I meant Russia. I'm one of those who believe that if you don't understand satire, you are probably not alive or are a very poor reader. I remember the case of a very prominent clergyman who told his congregation that the president of Nigeria was a Sudanese on the basis of a satirical newspaper column he had read.
By Dr. Olatunji.
It's good to write and be engaged. There has been a holdback of responses after the Russian embassy in Nigeria described the column titled "We Owe Putin an Apology" as a Western stereotype. One of those who responded to the Russian embassy said he was, quote and unquote, maniacally bewildered by the reaction. So, just to round this off, Azu, if you had to do that article again, would you probably change the headline?
You know what, Julius? I've had absolutely great fun, taking in all the reactions. And let me also say that in compliance with or in deference to the Russian embassy's right of reply, leadership published their rejoinder on Monday, which was 3 days after my article was written. But there have still been we've still had reactions, as you have said, and I will do it. In fact, I will do it over and over again. I wouldn't take a word out. But people are entitled to their right of reply, but they are not entitled to their facts. And I think the facts are very well clearly written, even though the facts were in that article disguised as satire.
All right. So this is where we call it a wrap. And for more of the full text of this and the previous ones, please visit our website, azuishekwene.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So thanks for coming on the show, Azu.
Thanks for having me once again, Julius. Thank you.
Cheers.
Conversations with Azu Ishekwene.